I already detailed out all the problems I've had with Richard Dawkins in his recent discussion with Jordan Peterson. However, Richard Dawkins eventually came through and understood Jordan's point. The same cannot be said for Jordan. Jordan completely dismissed the factual claims that Richard was interested in, and that can be neatly summarized in the following clip.
You must know, I know this comes up all of the time when somebody says, but did Cain and Abel really exist? And I know that you want to say that the story which
I think it's a silly question.
So Jordan thinks it's silly to look at the facts of the Bible. I think the reason for that can be summarized in the next clip.
It doesn't make any difference to me whether it's the material reaching upward or the divine descending downward. I don't think there's any difference between those two things.
You don't. That's exactly right. That's the problem.
The reason why I think that Jordan doesn't see the difference between the Bible being an evolved piece of literature and being divinely inspired is because he's a pragmatist. It doesn't matter how you think it got here, it's here, and it contains truths that are useful. So, from that point of view, it really doesn't matter. You can imagine some engineers trying to fly a rocket into space, and they have a bunch of equations. They get the working wrong, but they get the answer accidentally right. Now, whether the answer is accidentally right or completely right, it doesn't matter. The rocket will still fly. From that point of view, it really doesn't make a difference. So, Jordan had an agenda, and his agenda was to try to convey to Richard that the archetype is the extension of the meme, and that's absolutely fine, except that he is not the only one in the conversation. Richard is also there and he cared about the factual claims. And Jordan just didn't really care about them. And whenever he was asked any factual claims, and this is what he does all the time, is he twists them into some metaphorical significance. And I think Alex can summarize that quite neatly right here.
You must understand what you're being asked here, that even if you think that, say, the author of the biblical texts intended much more significance than a simple scientific analysis of events, Professor Dawkins is interested in scientific truth. That's the kind of truth that he's interested in. And even if you think it's irrelevant to the point of what the gospel authors were getting at, that first needs to be clarified before you can then begin actually uncovering what the stories are about.
Now, even after all that, Jordan still couldn't see the significance of the facts. After a while of conversation, Alex tried to convince him once more, this time using a different approach. And here is what we got.
Suppose we were asking out of interest. Suppose that we were all here devout Christians, maybe even Jungian Christians, and we thought, this is interesting, over dinner. Do you think it really happened, like scientifically? Would your answer just be, I don't know?
Yes.
So finally, we got some kind of an answer to a factual question. I don't know. Now, it's not a very satisfying one, but considering it's Peterson, that is something.
And you wouldn't consider it, it's not an inappropriate question to ask, just on a point of interest.
Right.
Did this really occur? And I think so often people are asking you that, and especially given the context of this conversation, we've heard everything that you're saying about metaphor and myth, but because the question is still then being asked, did it really happen? You know that that's what you're being asked. And the way you just so easily said yes, I wonder why you struggle to do that in so many other circumstances.
I think because I don't look at the situation the same. The way that Dr. Dawkins and I look at the situation are really quite different and at many, many, many levels.
Of course they think about things completely differently. I think everybody agrees with that. But I don't think that's the actual reason why he struggled to answer that question. Why? Well, first of all, he has not only spoken to atheists, he spoke to many Christians. And he was not dodging these kinds of questions any less in these interviews.
I know you said you don't like being asked, do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I have an answer to that. I act as if God exists. That's the answer to that. Right. Because the belief, it's like, what are you talking about?
It means this. I think, and even just a low bar, there's a creator and sustainer of the universe. That's it. Yes, I think that's probably true. Why is that so silly?
I think there is a deeper reason for why Jordan is avoiding these kinds of questions. And I don't think he is doing this intentionally. I think that, ironically, Jordan is blind to the value of facts. And this next clip shows this perfectly.
Richard asked you before about the difference between a story or an idea naturally evolving over the course of numerous manuscripts and throughout human history, and the idea of it being divinely inspired. And you were seeming to imply that these are almost interchangeable concepts. Now, if that's the case, when you say that this divine spirit behind the Bible is actually just the way that it has evolved throughout the human history, throughout the different manuscripts that we've had, then saying that that is what divinity is, I think for you may drag the mundane up into the realm of divinity. But I think for people like Richard and for many people listening, what it does instead is drags the divine down to the realm of the mundane.
Very well put, yes.
Well, I don't know why it would drag the divine down into the realm of the mundane if we're speaking of something like the straight and narrow path of harmony between multiple modes of being. I don't think it doesn't make any difference to me whether it's the material reaching upward or the divine descending downward. I don't think there's any difference between those two things.
You don't. That's exactly right. That's the problem.
Well, I don't.
You don't see the difference.
Now listen closely again to the reason he gives for why he sees no difference.
The straight and narrow path of harmony between multiple modes of being.
Now, to decode that, the straight narrow path is a reference to the Bible, to the statement that there is only one way that leads to heaven. Metaphorically speaking, it means that there is only one way to get things right and many ways to get things wrong. In the next part, he talks about the different modes of being, or the harmony of the different modes of being. Now, what a mode of being is, basically, in his language, is a pattern of behavior, is the way we behave. And there are different types of personalities, different archetypes, and they have to work together in order to walk down this straight narrow path. Or in simple terms, the reason why he can't see the difference between the Bible being divinely inspired or not is because he cares about the values within the Bible that promote good behavior which can help us survive as a civilization.
You'll do it in a way that'll be a blessing to everyone else. Okay, so 4 things, all stacked on top of each other. Adventure, okay, true adventure. You'll be a blessing to yourself. Your reputation will grow, and rightfully so. You'll establish something permanent and long-lasting that echoes down the generations, and it'll be good for everyone. Okay, there's a harmony about all that, right? There's a stacked harmony. Okay, the spirit of that harmony, that's God. It's a definition.
Okay.
It's a definition, you see.
This is a very pragmatist view, but there is a big problem with that. There is a huge difference between praying to a metaphorical God to psychologically help yourself and praying to a literal God that helps you in such a way that you couldn't help yourself. Just in case this wasn't clear enough, imagine me sitting here, having a very messy desk, and praying to the metaphor of Jordan Peterson, trying to invoke his spirit within me such that I get the energy to do it myself. Or he's literally standing in front of me and I ask him, "Hey mate, can you help me clean up the table? Thanks." It's like night and day. It appears that he is avoiding all these factual questions because he just doesn't take them seriously. If he took them seriously, what he would be doing right now is he would be going to church, he would be going to confession, he would be taking the Eucharist. He's not doing any of that. Nevertheless, I think we ought to give credit where credit is due. Jordan is uniting both theists and atheists by telling us about the wonders of the metaphorical truths, as well as annoying us with avoiding all the factual truths. From a certain point of view, the discussion that both Jordan and Richard had was really quite extreme. While Richard could not understand the metaphorical truths and their significance for the life of him until at least the very end, Jordan cannot understand the value of the factual truths. After looking through a bunch of comments under many religious-themed videos, including this one, I think that there is a lot of people that are very quick to attribute negative intentions to the other side. I don't think that Jordan had bad intentions when he was saying this, and neither do I think that Richard had bad intentions when he was misunderstanding the metaphorical truths. These kinds of things have emerged naturally through their worldviews. They just don't see the value, they don't understand the value of either the facts or the metaphors. I think both sides want to get to the truth, and if we just attribute negative intentions to one another, we are locking ourselves out of potentially very fruitful conversations. So I think it will be quite crucial to explore this topic, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in the next video. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more content like this, please comment, like, and subscribe to my channel.